Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, bringing you three neat perspectives from varying skill range. I am the one who puts Master in the Master Drive, Andrew. With me, the one who puts the PU in CPU, Keith.
Can confirm. Hello.
And the one who definitely puts the board in Motherboard, Liz.
Hey, guys.
And this week was Keith's pick, of course, because we played Narita Boy. But before we get into it, I just want to do a quick announcement, because I know a lot of people don't end up listening to the end of the episode. I just want to say, please start following us on our Facebook at Game Pass Grab Bag, because thanks to a wonderful suggestion from one of our listeners, Bill, he suggested that we actually start posting pictures and putting our scores on a picture of the game that we played. So instead of having to go back and listen to an episode to see what we gave for a rating for a game, just check out our Facebook, and moving forward, we will have pictures with scores on them to make it easier for you guys. And while you're at it, follow our YouTube as well. But anyway, so Narita Boy is a 2D action platformer, of course, because that's what Keith loves.
Hi. That me.
And Narita Boy is brought to you by Studio Koba. So the story of Narita Boy is essentially Tron. That's it. And for people who don't know Tron, this game takes place in the 80s where you ended up getting sucked into a video game computer program called, lo and behold, Narita Boy. And you are trying to fight the Stallions, which is basically a red virus that is trying to take over and escape the machine and try to take over the human world. So, Keith, starting off, since this was your game, was this a game or pass?
As usual, it's a game. I'm gonna bring back an old favorite. It's not Ori, but it's a game. It was fun. I sort of liked the story, even though I think it gets weird at points, but largely, yeah, it's a game.
Liz, how about you?
I am just on that line, because for me, with this game, I thought so much of it was good, but nothing got me to the finish line. I think I needed a bit more from either the story or something. So I didn't finish it, and it's a short game, so I guess I should give it a pass. But I found the memories so intriguing that made me go for so long. So I don't know. I guess pass, but I think it is good.
So for me, I think I'm gonna give it a pass. For me, just everything about it, it's not bad. It's just everything was just fine. Nothing wowed me. Nothing really drew me. I do agree, Liz. I thought the memory stories were pretty good. There is one thing that I absolutely loved, and that is the music. But we'll get into that later. So, as I said, the story with Narita Boy, you are just kind of this kid. You don't really see your character, but you're sleeping, and all of a sudden you get sucked into a computer, and boom, you're now in this game, and people are telling you that you need to save the world, and that the computer virus is taken over, and you need to get the techno sword and fight off the enemies. So, overall, as the whole story goes, don't really care. But as Liz said, you're kind of discovering and learning about the creator's memories. His memories were quote-unquote hacked. His brain was hacked, I guess, somehow, because reasons. And his memory gets deleted, so you're kind of uncovering his history and basically, I don't know, his mental illness or what's going on with the virus, how he's associated with the virus. And I do agree, Liz. I thought the memories were interesting.
I just want to say really quickly at the beginning, when you're sucked into the game and his mom is telling him to get off the video game, how many times did that happen to you growing up?
Getting sucked into video games? Oh, all the time.
No, he told you had to stop. Because I feel like you love video games. I feel like as a kid, it must have been so hard to get you away.
My parents gave up after a while.
But I agree with what you said. And for me, a lot of the conversations that were happening, it was all the jargon.
Yeah, there's so much computer jargon.
The technical jargon.
Yeah.
That for me, it just... And it's something that Andrew brought up when I was playing it. He was watching me play, and he said, I wish it was just comedic relief. And I think it really needed that.
Yeah.
Because for me, I just wanted interesting characters along the way. And then I also didn't understand how you're supposed to be a hero, but you're just leaving people being chained up and tortured.
That was irritating me.
And it's you could untie one person and have them rescue the others, but you're just oh, wow, that looks comfortable.
Yes, everyone keeps saying how you're this hero and the savior and everything like that, but you're literally walking by everyone who's being tortured or dying or stuck in something, and you're just whatever, bye, and you just walk by them and you can't do anything. It's how am I a hero?
I did notice that, and I found that strange for sure. I'm trying to think. Because there were certain points where I was confused, where it was almost like they were almost like ghosts of the software, so there wasn't anything you could do. But there was definitely points where, yeah, also there was just people that didn't have like the fuzziness to them, and they seemed like they were very real in there. And you're just, yeah, that's cool, bud. I got things to do.
Yeah, this game just desperately needed characters besides your main character.
Well, I think it's funny too. Like you have everybody praying to the creator, and isn't his life like a hot mess? It was
Yeah,
kind
but
of
he
weird to
created the
see.
game.
What?
Yeah, but he still created the game. Like,
No, I understand, but I just thought it was like a weird way to show that. Like his life is like a complete mess, and then all of a sudden you see people like worshiping him, and you think that was weird?
no.
Well, no, I mean, because so for the parts of the story that I understood, and this was where I took some issue for sure, and you already touched on it, so I'm kind of just repeating what you said, I guess. But the story was fine; it was simple enough. I understood what was going on, but I had no idea what was happening in the dialogue half the time, other than I was like, okay, bad guy, bad, I'm good guy, go kill. And
Yeah.
so I got really lost in it. I think at times some of the things I think I picked up on, I was like, oh, I think, that's a little pun. That's supposed to be funny, but I don't get it. And there's like things that are
So you need a
perfectly,
laugh track for the game,
yeah, it's
an audience
perfectly
to laugh
fine
to
to
be like,
have
this is
some
humorous.
very niche comedy, but this is one that's like deep niche. I mean, there's just not a lot of people who I don't want to say a lot of people, but I don't think the average person is so well versed in computer jargon, like the deep level of computer jargon that this game goes with, that it makes any sense. And you're just like, okay, cool. So
I think there was. Oh, sorry.
so I don't think they do a good job selling their audience by any means.
Yeah, I think there was kind of a tease in there where they had the yellow guy. He like goes into your body, but he seemed like he was gonna be really funny, and I was like, ah, great, this character's gonna be awesome. And then you don't hear from him again.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
and well, then you get two more of them. There's a blue one and a red one, but it's the same thing. Which also is disappointing because they're very much then just the same character as that first one is, just a
Yeah.
different color. Like, yeah, man, totally, bro. Let's do this. And again, they could have had some fun with that, but no, they just disappear unless you use their skills, and even then, they just appear, do a thing, and go away.
Yeah, that's my biggest complaint. I think this game just desperately needed characters. Yeah, you have Narita Boy, you have Motherboard, who anytime you see her, it's just a recording. So you're not really like engaging in dialogue trees or anything like that. They're just like recordings. And then of course the main bad guy who's named is him. And it's just and that was it. Like it I would have loved if this game, yeah, had like kind of a funny sidekick. Or as we were saying, yeah, with the power up people that end up, getting in you and imbuing you with their powers. I think it'd be cool if they popped up every once in a while and had some commentary. But yeah, there's just nothing. So I just was not engaged with the story at all.
Even if like as you were going through their kingdom or their color, like they could give you insight into the world around you,
Yeah.
give you some background, give you some lore, and you find some of it throughout the game, but it
Yeah, like
going
passing by.
yeah, but it then goes back to like being so computer heavy that you're like, okay, I think this is supposed to make sense if I understand how computers are built. But again, I do not, so I'm very lost.
Yeah, and I think that this all took away from some of what could have been really dark moments. I remember walking into a room and this guy was watching his brother being killed like
Yeah.
on a loop. But I think graphically and then also with like what the limited story going on, like it was towards the beginning of the game. And I was like this could have been like way worse. Like they could have actually really like evoked an emotion with
Yeah.
this. But I think they dropped the ball a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I thought it was kind of disturbing, but like I don't know. I think it took away.
Yeah. So like I thought the world and the environment they were building was pretty cool and interesting. I just don't think it was utilized because anybody you're interacting with or talking, like you can talk to some people in the streets and stuff like that. All they do is just repeat the same dialogue and it just feels so flat. Like it doesn't feel like a conversation. It's always something very simple. Like Liz was saying, like, oh, this guy's watching his brother die over and over again. Like that's the dialogue. If you talk to him again, it's just the same line over again. And it's just, there was no like real depth to the world or the environment of the story.
See, and this ties in, I think, to what you were talking about with characters, is what I think this game could have done better is it would have been a shift in the gameplay for sure, because the gameplay is very linear. It's point A to point B, C, finish it. But what I think it could have been made it a little more interesting, and they could have helped to build a storyline, would have been made it more of a Metroidvania style. Have some of
Yeah.
these characters that you meet, like that one you're talking about, he's mourning the death of his brother. Like you could go find something that then goes back and, you know, you kind of break him from that loop. He doesn't have to suffer anymore. And
Yeah, like do a side quest.
yeah, like, you could, I don't want to say humanize the characters because, well, they're all computer programs. Maybe that's the point. But you could have made it more interesting and more engaging and still kept all your crazy computer jargon.
Abed and Community found a way to humanize a computer program, so it's possible.
There you go. Just they should have just you know,
But I
worked.
guess like at least what they try to do for compensation, as we mentioned before, for like trying to humanize the game is having the creators' memories, which that story was at least kind of interesting. But they were just so short and kind of far and few between that it kind of irritated me. Like I was interested in
I didn't like
creator
having to
stories.
wait so long.
Yeah. And then because even too, you're kind of like, wait, what happened to the previous memory? You could go back and see it, but I don't know. That story was at least was interesting and I liked.
It was all right, but it fit because they wove it throughout the whole game, but at the same time, I feel like I could have gone through the whole game largely without it at the same time. It just felt like separate.
Oh, see, I was looking forward to that. That's what got me as far as I did. I thought that was the most interesting part. Cause like even looking at the enemies, we were talking about like flat earlier, and even with like the combat, I mean, when you're fighting these enemies, one like I don't feel any way towards them because there's no real talking or,
Yeah.
I mean, there is a little bit with some of the bosses, but they have like the same moves, and it's all very just like choreographed.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I felt like I needed that.
Well, when it came to like the enemies, which this is also something was weird. I felt like they were trying to set up to have you have like a bestiary or some sort of book of lore to explain who some of these enemies are. Because anytime you interact with a new enemy, it shows you a floppy disk and says the enemy's name. Like, oh, here's some new information, but there's nothing. You can't look up a story about these enemies. But the enemies I found very flat. There's a ton. There's a ton of different variations, but there's a ton of different variations. It's because they all only had like one attack. So instead of creating just one character and having it have three different attacks, they're like, oh, we'll just make three different characters, but they all do just one thing. And so because of, yeah, there's a huge catalog of monsters, but they're flat. They're
And
just
I thought that they kept like you'd see like the basic ones, then they'd add one, and then you'd see those two, and then a third one would come out, and then like so I always felt like I was still fighting the same enemies, but just every once in a while I get like a new one.
yeah.
I did like that you're gaining abilities that you use with them. So they're those like skeleton things. When you get the right bumper, you smash into walls. You use that against those. So I like that they incorporated the new fighting mechanics with the new enemies. But besides that,
So I don't know if this is the right way to look at it, but I felt like it was trying to be very Dark Souls-ish. There we go. And in the fact that like if I was struggling with a boss or an enemy and I kept going back, all of a sudden I would kind of find the right combination of moves I needed to do, like the dance, if you will. And it was just like, oh, okay, now I get this. Now I can move past this fight. But I might take 3 or 4 tries to get there. And because of the fact that it doesn't give you any background, like that's what frustrated me is there a lot of games, even if they have like a hint at it, they don't tell you directly, hey, this is how you do it. It might say, hey, they're somewhat immune to this type of thing and point you in the right direction. But this was largely just, I don't know, figure it out and good luck. And if you haven't fought that character in 3 levels, hope you remember how you beat him last time.
So Liz, I want to disagree with your comment with the skills. I thought the skills were majority kind of useless. The only ones you really need are X, which is swinging your sword, and the left bumper, which is dodge. That's basically it. You're getting these new skills, like you said, the shoulder bash, but it's only used on one enemy. And I think that was like such a missed opportunity. This game is giving you a bunch of skills, but they're so minimal as
I
to
mean,
how you use them.
I didn't say they were fantastic. I just said I appreciated that I got some new stuff along the way.
I mean, I did too, but I was just frustrated that it was like such a tease. Because there's a time where it's like, oh, you're riding a horse and you go through this horse segment, which that segment was kind of annoying. But anyway, you learn this new skill to ride a horse. One little segment, done. And then it's like, oh, but now you combine and you wear the horse's like armor and you fight like as like a knight. One little segment, done. Never see it again. And I thought that was such a disappointment. It's like I'm getting these cool things and doing these cool like it's like a way to change up the gameplay.
Well, you have like a meter where you can like use like for instance healing. I wish there was a meter that when it hit that, all of a sudden you bulked up.
Yeah,
and you got the horse thing. Yeah, I
You
think
could
that would
enter
have
like
been
a
really
berserk
cool.
mode or something like that, and yeah, turn on
Yeah.
the armor and like kind of slay the enemies. Like the combat was just so flat. Keith, at one point when you were playing, you made a joke, but it's kind of true. You're like, oh, you could maybe argue this game is a clicker game because it's just X X X X X X X
Yeah.
dodge X X X X X X dodge.
But I will say, this is one of the few games where I completely utilized that dodge. I got so good at it.
Yeah, I was watching you. You were doing pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about it. It's pretty bad in that aspect. There really is, because even outside of in combat, the dodge and the bash were really the same thing. Like I would
Yeah.
just use them.
One went forward,
interchangeably.
one went backwards.
Yeah, but if you held the stick in the direction you wanted to go, you would dash in the direction that you wanted to go. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I forget where I was going with that.
Yeah, so like I know you were talking about like how this game was trying to have like a dance with the enemies. I don't think so at all. I think this game was just if it was a dance, it's like the chicken or something like that. It's something super basic.
I
Because even
wasn't
the
trying-
enemies, the bosses were so boring.
Well, I wasn't trying to say it did a good job at it. I'm just
I
saying.
know. Yeah,
it
you're saying
was-
they tried,
Yeah, I think they were
and the dance is
trying
the chicken.
to. Yeah.
I think for me, because like there's no difficulty levels, and the fact that the only time I really struggled was when I was tired. When I play video games and I'm tired, I'm just like I
Or
can't
hungry.
do this. Like I need to stop. Like I'm done. And so like and then I'll go back after I eat something or take a napper, and then I'll be able to do it in like one try. But for me, I didn't really find it difficult at all.
No,
I mean, even the bosses, like, yeah, I died quite a few times, but there was nothing that I was like, I can't handle this. Same with, like, there was one point where I was frustrated, and I gave Andrew the control to do, like, a platforming thing, and then I had to go back, because this game, you're going back and
Lot
forth,
of
there's
backtracking.
no map, it's ridiculous. I had to do it again, and I did it the first try, so it's, like, it's something that I was capable, I was just, like, hangry or something. But yeah, that's another thing. This game needs a map. I don't have a sense of direction. I don't have any type of map. I got a mind like a sieve. I can't handle being like, oh, you have to go back to this thing. Like, where?
yeah,
Which elevator do I use? Like, do I go up? Do I go down? And so, and then when you're doing the platforming, which again isn't too difficult, but I don't really want to keep doing it over and over again if I don't have to. So I just felt like I wasted so much time. I mean, maybe you guys have better memories and you don't have that problem.
yeah. For someone who has like a lack of direction, I knew that was gonna be your big struggle with this game.
Yeah, I'm not saying by any means that your complaint is invalid, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I can understand where you're coming from, but I definitely didn't feel that way. I I thought the maps were small enough. The only thing that I would have liked the map for is there are certain points where if you miss going back to them before you leave a level, the only way to ever go back to them is by replaying the game. And there's really not a lot of replay value in this game unless you're trying to collect those couple of things. And at which point, look them up on YouTube probably, at least if you
Yeah.
want to do it for story purposes.
Well, I think it was more at the beginning. I felt like once you start getting like to like the blue section, or no, the yellow section. The yellow one's the first one. I feel like everything becomes more linear.
Yeah,
It's mostly the first area where I was just like, this game is gonna be miserable,
The
and
first-
it wasn't. It wasn't.
the first area for me was the worst.
Yes.
So here's a little pro tip too, if you do play this game. Right, like this is near the beginning. You end up going to the gardens. You hit a button and it opens. Well, it looks like a door that it opens. And I kept going to it. And to enter a door, you press up. Like it gives you a prompt saying, "Oh, like this is something you can interact with. You can either press A, B, or up or whatever." And you go to the door, and there's no prompt. And I literally was stuck on that area for like 30 minutes. I was searching everywhere. I'm like, why am I not progressing? What's going on? Come to find out, you had to slightly jump. Like it was literally like an inch high platform. I don't know why they added this weird little inch-high platform, but you have to slightly jump up on this platform, then you can interact with the door. But it's this only one spot that it irritated me. I don't know why they added that, because I got lost for so long. But the objectives literally are just like, find this dude. Like, what does that mean? Where do I go? I don't know what that means. Who the heck is this dude?
And I remember you actually telling me about that ledge.
Yeah.
And then I told you I was super frustrated because I was like, Andrew, I don't know where to go. Because the last time that I saw a boat and I tried to jump on it, I died. So I thought, oh, I can't interact with this boat. So I'm going back and forth over the landscape over and over and over again. Turns out this boat you can jump on without dying. And it's just like...
No explanation, no reason. Just, this boat you can now go in. It's like, okay.
There's definitely not so much on that one. I don't actually remember it, so I guess I didn't have an issue with it. But there's definitely points where I was like, oh, there's a door here. There was actually, though, one where, and it was partly on me because I just think I didn't look hard enough. But I had flipped a switch somewhere, and maybe it showed me where the door opened, and I wasn't paying attention. So again, could be on me. But I took like 10, 15 minutes of running back and forth, similar to what you were. And then I realized, oh, this slightly miscolored area is where the door opened.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's only because I honestly looked it up. I went and I found a YouTube video, which is pretty slim right now because the game is very new. So I get that. But it, there's definitely just weird aspects of how the openings are designed. There should be a little bit more direction, I feel like, to it.
Yeah, and it's odd, too, because I don't know if you guys ever noticed. I generally only noticed it anytime I exited one of the creator's memories. There's a hand that points you into a direction that you need to go. And it's like, why didn't they incorporate this hand more often?
Sometimes they do have directionals, but they face both directions.
Yeah.
So you get to a new area and you're like, oh, that's helpful.
Well, that was another gripe I had because there were two directions you could go, but you didn't know which one was the right one. And when I say the right one, it was to be able to collect something before beating the level. Because once you beat the level, you're exited. You don't have a chance to go back. There's no, hey, do you want to make sure you collected everything? It's just like, well, you're here and you stumbled upon it accidentally, so have at it. Yeah. And like from a gameplay perspective, I don't like a game that like really forces you to replay it, especially when, again, in reality, there's no replay value.
Oh, but I wanted to talk a little bit more. Did you guys enjoy the bosses at all?
I didn't think they were super fun, or none of them stood out to me as like, wow, this is awesome. There's definitely
I thought the designs were cool.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But as far as the fights themselves, none of them really stuck out to me except for the small handful of them maybe that I was like, this is a pain, and I'm sick and tired of doing this over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Designs were cool.
Another complaint I had with the bosses, I didn't really notice it until you mentioned it, Keith, but they kind of show you the boss's health. There's a heart in the bottom right corner, but like sometimes it's pumping faster, sometimes it's slow, and then sometimes it's squirting blood, and then sometimes you just beat the boss. And I'm like, I don't understand what this health meter is of this boss.
Well,
like, how do I know if I almost beat him?
Almost like old school NES style, like that was a health meter. So I assumed it started slow, got a little faster, then it went really fast, and then it like started pumping blood or like splurting out blood, and then you would just kill him. But all of them were really like, I don't want to say all of them, but it was like a pattern. Almost every boss, big boss, was like a real pattern to it.
Yeah, they had like 2-3 moves.
Yeah, it almost wasn't even how much damage you did to them, as long as you did one hit in most cases, that you like had to get a hit off between these like certain set of moves that they would do, and if you did that, then it would they'd go through their progression, I should say, of their different moves until you killed them. So it almost wasn't a health bar in some fights at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a weird style choice.
Yeah, it wasn't a great choice. I think I get what they were trying to do, but it didn't go well.
Did you guys care for any of the segments where they try to mix up the gameplay? So as I said, there's a moment where you ride a horse, and it's kind of like a runner game that you play on like your iPhone, where you basically are just either jumping or doing a dash. And then there's a time where you end up becoming like Godzilla and fighting monsters. There's a time where you're riding a floppy disk, which is essentially a boogie board. I also think it's funny that this game uses a lot of floppy disks. I'm curious how many young people out there even know what a floppy disk is.
Calling you out, youths.
I think I only did one of those special events.
You did the horse.
one.
I can't believe how well you did with that horse
Yeah,
segment.
the first one, you said I made it to the end and then
Yeah.
I died. And then I got it the second time. I actually thought it was fun, and I usually don't like stuff like that. So but that's the only one that I did.
See, I thought for sure you were going to die super early I thought that was going to be the point you were done with this game. Because I saw a lot of people complain about that segment. But yeah, you almost beat it in your first run. I was really impressed.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I think overall they were all right. Again, nothing stood out to me. It was largely just there in a part of the game, and they all kind of felt a little samey. I didn't like the boogie board one. There's too many times like I just felt like the jump timing was off, and I
Yeah.
would land weird on like the corner of an island where I'm like, I don't know, I hit that same jump last time, but this time it didn't work. So there was just a lot of that I didn't care for in those. It was a nice breakup to the game, or to the gameplay as a whole, but it didn't do a lot to add much for me personally.
See, like I thought they were kind of fun. Every once in a while, like I said, you end up becoming either big or putting on armor. What always irritated me is when you did it, they're like, oh, you have all the same abilities as Narita Boy.
No, you don't.
But you don't. You're actually super slow. You can't heal. Like, yeah, you're swinging really hard and stuff, but those segments to me were just so slow. And it just like, I felt like I was walking molasses. So it kind of frustrated me.
I remember that because I remember being frustrated I couldn't heal.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But at least this game's super forgiving, like Liz was saying. If you die, like you just like spawn right at the beginning of like the screen. Like it's fairly quick, it's instant, and there's no punishment. So there was times you were low, I was like, Liz, just kill yourself, just start over, just get full health.
Well, it was frustrating because sometimes when you died, you would go back a little bit far, like farther than I would want. But yeah, I died so many. I would fall in those puddles on accident instead of doing
puddles
dash.
were annoying.
Because I would take a break from playing, and then like a couple hours go by, I go back to the game, and then I'd be like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the platforming I think was a little frustrating. When you get to the blue world, there's like random puddles. So you're just sitting there running. You're like, oh, this is a perfectly flat platform, and then all of a sudden your character's drowning in a puddle, and it's like, okay, I didn't see that. That's really annoying. Yeah, I didn't care for the platforming in this game. I thought it was just fine.
It was a lot touchy, and that was something I didn't care for. But it's funny because I actually was thinking about this, I just thought of this as I had earlier. You talked about the little bar you get, Liz, where you can do your skills. Honestly, all I felt like that was good for was healing. There was no other really good use for it.
I think that was its only purpose.
No, I mean
Well,
you could.
no, there was the one where you could use the guy that was in your body.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
call
but
him the boy.
that didn't cost anything.
No, it did. Well, there's two things you could do with it. So you could do like a power up where your body would be a flame of that color, or you could call him out and he would do a special move, and it did a chunk of damage, especially.
Whoa! You can call him out?
Yeah, I think it was
I
like
told you that, and you
I
said no.
I thought
he
it said
just-
that too, but I could never figure out how to
It
actually
was-
call him out.
it was
did
up, left,
that.
and right on the D-pad, which
Yeah.
Well, that's to
Whoa.
invoke the power.
Then
on
it's
the
the left.
D-pad.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought it was just the right stick.
Because I did it with the yellow guy, and then I was asking you because I forgot how to do it with the blue guy, and then when you taught me, it just did a thing, and I was like, oh, I thought he attacked for me, and you're like, no, but he did I did it for the yellow guy.
Oh, so I never used that ability.
Embarrassing.
it didn't add much, honestly. Like it was helpful for sure. It came in handy sometimes, but you didn't lose much of the game by not having it.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the gun, I mean, I only used it when I had 3.
Yeah, when you did the
Because
hyper beam.
otherwise,
yeah.
because I didn't want to be super close and shoot because there was a little bit of a
delay.
yes, thank you. There was a little bit of a delay.
Well, and throughout the whole game, that hyper beam one hits just about everything except for bosses.
Yeah.
So if you can hang on to that's basically the strategy. I think that's what I did, and I'm pretty sure you said that you did too, Andrew, right?
Yeah. But I want to start talking about things that I actually think I did appreciate about Narita Boy. Starting off would be the graphics. I actually thought the art style, once again, it's very pixelated, typical indie game. But I overall enjoyed the graphics. I really liked the character designs. I just wish, the characters had depth to them. I thought the worlds overall were pretty good. My biggest complaint is the navigation with it, as we were saying, with like sometimes where it's like I didn't realize I'm supposed to jump on this ledge or I can interact with this door. So I thought the environments were cool. I just wish they actually put depth in the or actually put I don't know, some meat to the world.
I more liked the movement in the game. So like you have stuff in the foreground, the background, and then whenever you climbed up, when they showed like the creator's skull and the stairs appeared, it would actually turn you and you would go up at an angle. And I liked watching the guy run. So I really liked the movement. I mean, the pixelated, I think it was all right.
Yeah.
I like that you could see for different ledges and stuff, the blue little dots, so you knew that that's where you needed to land. So I appreciated that. I mean, overall, pixelated, I'm kind of about.
Yeah.
But for
kind
me,
of
it
a
was the
dime a dozen.
movement. Yeah, for me, it was the movement that I liked about it.
They are a dime a dozen. I will agree with that. But it fit, or I guess I should say they fit the story to make sense with why they were doing it. It was a game built in the 80s. It's supposed to look like that. So that's where I can let it off the hook. And yeah, I guess it's an indie game, but they at least incorporated and gave it a good reason to be like that, not just doing it for doing its sake. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with you as far as the foreground and like all the movement. Nothing about it overly wowed me though, I guess.
I like the use of color. Like I liked that there's like 3 houses and they're all very distinct. So like when you're in the yellow world, they're very desert and kind of nomadic looking people. Then when you're in the blue world, it's a lot of water. They're kind of like sages, and red is kind of like a fiery world. I like the incorporation of the colors.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And I'm not even saying it was bad. I don't know. Nothing really struck me as like, wow, this is great. I think more if anything, I agree with you that I wish there was just a little more meat on the bones. I wish they had
Yeah.
done more with it. Like some other games we've played where, I don't know, maybe in the dialogue you have a pop up and you have a slightly more detailed version of their face. Because even I think back in the 80s, like I think back on NES games and stuff like that I used to play, and they did that occasionally. So it's not like it wouldn't have fit. So I think that would have been a nice touch to make it just feel a little bit better.
I agree with both of you guys. I think with this game too, it was a bit difficult for me because I feel like you have to be observant with. So there's
Your
one
greatest
time.
foe.
Yeah, there's one time that I watched a YouTube video, and because I thought I was doing something wrong, and so I watched it a little bit further though. I only like 5 minutes, and then I saw that like there was a section I had been to previously, and I didn't realize that like it had like a code. So he went back to like see what the code was, and I was like, oh. So you go back and again to get the backup drive. You know the platforms that teleport you. I didn't realize by going in a second time with a different code, you get the backup drive. So for me, I didn't even see these symbols on the screen until I was watching this guy play. He like put like he showed it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's another thing that kind of stinks of like the backtracking in this game. Like this game kind of harks back to people who played old school Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. You had to normally have a pen and paper when you played video games back in the day because you would normally have to write some sort of code or something like that. And this game kind of does that. There's symbols, 3 different colors, yellow, blue, red, and there's like 8 different symbols that it could be. And so they kind of want you to if you have a decent memory, you can do it. But some of the symbols are just like hidden in the background. So if you did not see that symbol, you kind of have to go back and search for it. Or, it's 2021. Just go online and search up the code online too. You can just do that.
I like games that if you find a code or if you beat a puzzle, then it just like
Saves it for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also kind of wish I don't know if I want this game to have puzzles. I always wish that games had puzzles, and I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not good at them. But but at least I would at least know that there was a clue there instead of just walking by and not realizing that anything was happening.
Well, I mean, one of them I outright guessed on because I just couldn't find the third symbol.
Yeah, it's
Well,
process of elimination.
Yep, I was like, I've got 2 of the symbols. I'll just go through because it doesn't punish you at all for getting it wrong. So if you really want to go through, there's a lot more combinations than that. And
Yeah.
if you want to go through every single one of them, but I don't know. I think it was just enough But I do agree. It like from a gameplay perspective, it irritated me that I had to enter it every time, which also reminded me of another thing that from a gameplay perspective was just it's a weird thing to complain about, I know, but I found it to be a nuisance where like when you unlock the memory, you go through the little phase you have to tap X for whatever reason, just because again, it's a clicker game. And as soon as you do that, you have to then hit X to interact with it again. It just doesn't
Yeah,
do the
I
thing. I was like,
that,
why do I
I
have to
thought the
do
same
this?
thing.
And it wasn't like there was a time like, ooh, if you don't do this within 2 seconds, you have to rush over and do it. There's no challenge to it. It just, yeah, just click again. Just
Yeah,
because it's a thing to do.
they didn't think you hit X enough. Hit
Hmm.
it one more time. That's basically it.
I actually just thought of something. And another thing, at one point the game actually just gave up on me because I was
It's like,
trying to
You're
go.
done.
I was trying to go back, and there was this. It was some kind of platforming thing, but I could fall to my death. I must have done it like a couple like 5 times, and then all of a sudden like the I died, and it brought me to where I needed to be. It just was like, you can't do this, and I was like, oh. I kind of actually like part of me was relieved, and the other part was just like, wow, like this is kind of insulting.
That's great though. But anyway, yeah. So as far as the graphics go, I think this game is good. I just wish there was more depth to it. But the thing I do absolutely love, and that is the music. I think this is the highlight of Narita Boy, and it is on Spotify. So if you are someone who's really into kind of like, it was really kind of like this electric, kind of almost techno. It's really kind of just really bassy. I loved the music.
It,
I
it
thought
was
the
very
fights were good
synthy.
with it. It was the fights were really good. How it changed, it all fit so well.
So I actually was listening to it this afternoon because I usually like to do a search, and I found it and I was listening to it, and what I could the immediate thought I have, I think you know it is. I don't even know if it's well known or not. I think it is that what it's Kavinsky. I think that night call.
Oh
I
yeah,
think it showed up in like movies and stuff. That's what it felt like to me. The audio or the vocals were definitely different, but the overall music is just that like 80s synthy, like stereotype 80s, not even like real 80s,
yeah.
if that makes sense.
See, I liked the transitional music, but with the main music, I liked it until I didn't. Because after a while, it did become a bit much for me. I liked it. I think the style was great. I think they did a good job with it. But for me, it was just like, oh, I need a break from that. And then I also absolutely despise whenever I turn on the game, it says Narita Boy.
Oh,
So
super loud. Yeah.
loud. And it's like, ugh. If
Well,
you just put a kid down to sleep and it's like, Narita Boy, I'm
yeah.
just like, oh.
Well, they do the entire time during the game. Anytime like the dialogue they would talk about you, it would always be like elongated of Narita Boy. Like it was always people shouting your name, but obviously it's just text, so it doesn't have the same
I
oomph
get
to
it.
it.
I just like it alarmed me every
Yeah,
time because I don't even keep the TV that loud and it just screams at you.
or when you die, rest in
Yep.
force every time.
Yeah, it's a very loud game. I agree because
Well, it's just those random moments it's loud. It's
Yeah,
not
because the
always
rest
loud.
of it, it's normal.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's best played with headphones so you can appreciate like the actual music and what the game has without bleeding from the ears. I don't know, but
Yeah, so I love the music. I even thought the sound effects worked really well. Like it wasn't it nothing like took away from each other from the music or the sound. I thought they was incorporated really well.
agreed.
But Keith, but this is also once again another game that has an ending song. It's not a butt rock song, but Keith, what did you think of the end song?
Narita Boy,
Yeah,
saving the world. I
it's
think
like
it's
this
sweet.
weird. It's like a weird karaoke song. I remember you were talking to me when you actually beat it before me, and you're like, "Oh man, there's a karaoke segment," and like, so I was really interested in it.
I feel like thinking about this game being in the 80s, when I first found out that, I was thinking of Yakuza 0. And I really wanted that kind of. Not like, I just, with Yakuza 0, when they took the 80s aspect, I think they did such a wonderful job. I really do. And so with this game, I just felt like it was kind of 80s in one respect.
You just
Someone would talk.
this game should have just been a game with inside of Yakuza 0. It could have been like a weird
Yes,
storyline mission that you
got
go
it, Keith.
on and you just play like mini missions instead of this whole game. I like it, Liz.
I
I'm giving you
think,
credit.
well, I think that idea would have worked until the end. The end, they do leave open for sequel. I actually thought the ending was kind of cool.
Oh
But
yeah, I forgot
yeah,
about that.
you definitely couldn't do the Yakuza Zero theory, Keith. Sorry. Because of that
Oh,
ending.
But do you guys think that they put enough 80s into it? Like with the music, for instance, that we were just talking about.
No. I mean,
I know it wasn't like the main theme.
the
I
game's
just
like
wanted
I
more.
said, the game is very much like Tron. And Tron was made in the 80s, the original,
sounds right.
I do believe. And like that's what it was. Like that's what it did feel like. It did feel like a kind of an 80s video game. But it's not like you not see people walk around with like fanny packs and Walkmans or oh no, at that point it wasn't even Walkmans, it was disc drives and cassette players, and it's not like that. It wasn't like super 80s of like, parachute pants or anything like that.
Too
So
bad. That would have
technically
been
it's
sweet.
90s. Yeah.
Sure.
But
Andrew, like the achievements, he got 1,000.
There you go.
I
That's
came
interesting.
in last place with 300. And then Keith, you got 605.
so
Nice.
since Keith wanted the achievements put in buckets, I would not put the achievements in a fun bucket, but I would put it in the gamer hunter bucket. So the average time to beat for Narita Boy, it stated 6.5 hours, but I think that's a bit nice. It's a bit lenient. I would say it's between 6 to 9 hours. Obviously, it varies how much you're dying and how well you know where you're going around and stuff like that. But if you are an achievement hunter, make sure you pull up a guide. Majority of the achievements, Keith didn't do any of the extra stuff, so he ended with 605. But he saw that a lot of achievements were hidden. So I pulled up a guide. Like luckily, I was still pretty early in the game, and I was able to get all the secret achievements because these secret achievements are very easy. Anytime you go to enter the code to progress, there's some secret codes you can find, and if you enter those secret codes, you go to a secret room, get a floppy disk or part of a floppy disk, and you just do it the 3 times, and you get the achievement. It's really simple.
But I feel like it's because it is such a short game. I feel like isn't it kind of like a letdown having to do a guide with it? Because, I don't like being taken in and out of a game is what I'm saying.
A little bit. Like I said, there's like basically a secret room in each of the 3 houses of the red, yellow, and blue, and then there's a one achievement where you go to a balcony in the blue world. But like they weren't like, oh, I need to follow this guide, follow step by step. It was very simple. It was very much enter this code, boom, you got the achievement. So it is simple. So it's mostly just for achievement hunters. But the achievements they weren't anything fun. They were just story wise.
No, and I still agree with Liz though, because even just knowing that, like, hey, I gotta make sure I don't miss anything on here, where even if it was a one shot to be like, hey, before you leave, do you want to go back and peruse the level? Anything like that would have just made it feel a little bit better than like, okay, hey, I have things I have to do still, or I may have something that I need to do. Let me think about this. Because I don't even mind looking up the achievements necessarily, but in some cases, they're all hidden behind a secret, which
Yeah.
again, this is one of your gripes that I'm like, just I don't know, what's the point? It
Yeah.
just kind of is
If it's not
irritating.
story related, just tell me.
Yeah, just tell me what I need to do. So I didn't like that aspect of it, but again, for one playthrough, getting 605, I can't disagree with you that that's still not even bad. It's not the
Yeah.
full 1,000, sure, but it's a good chunk.
All right. But getting into our final thoughts, Keith, why don't you tell us, what did you think of Narita Boy?
I think I've talked myself out of it. I'm gonna keep it as a game only in the aspect because it's just I'm a sucker for these games. It's still not Hori, and I don't know. It's worth a play because it's fun enough and it's short enough that it's I don't know. I think it's worth playing if you like these types of games. Largely though, it's not a great one. It's not a great platformer. It's mediocre in its story. There's some nice aspects of the music, but I don't know. You can also go listen to that on Spotify. So I think I've got to give this a 70. It's a fair score and a game-ish.
So as I said, I'm giving it a pass because it's not bad. Like everything about it across the board is just fine. So that's why I think you could just give it a pass. There's plenty of other better choices, But from what I did play, like, it was still cool. I think the music really drew me in. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, the comic's just kind of flat. Story's kind of flat. It's just okay. Yeah, the platforming's not that interesting. I think like a sequel, they could maybe do something better with it. I like what the idea was. I just don't think they utilized it. I think I'm gonna give it a 65.
Whoa. Okay.
Maybe is it a digital 65? I don't know. I need an adjective, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. Okay, fine. I can lower my score. It's a
64-bit?
Narita 64.
Ooh. I
See,
mean,
I don't know.
I feel like I liked
Put
it
me
the
on the spot.
least, and I was gonna rate it higher. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, just do what you do.
Okay.
This is why I don't like letting you go last, because you end up changing your score.
I'll give it a 73.
Oh, you're the highest rated.
I was
out of
gonna
us.
give it higher, but I feel like you guys actually talked me down while we were going through, and I was like, oh, maybe that's too high. Yeah, I guess I'll give it a 73. Because I mean, like, I didn't even finish the game. That's how much I was. So there weren't many fun reviews today. So
It's a very new game.
yeah, so on Metacritic, it was 69 by the critics and
Nice.
7.5 from the users. And I thought it was interesting that the critics seemed much harsher than the users. And usually it's the opposite. They
That is
weren't like
kinda weird.
mean at all, but there was a couple 60s in there.
Huh.
And there was only 1, 2 in the users, and the users had more.
I mean, well, users is also usually lower because, our fourth co-host is giving zeros everywhere, so that
Oh,
obviously
he
brings the
wasn't there
user score
yet.
down. I
He
know.
wasn't there yet, yeah.
Not there yet.
must not
still-
actually have Game Pass. Let's get him a subscription.
All right, but I think that's gonna do it for us. Thank you all so much for joining. Please follow us on Facebook. We'll have the pictures up for you guys. If you would be so kind, leave us a review. It helps us out. But also, please subscribe to our YouTube. For the most part, it ends up I'm kind of posting some of our audio of just our episodes, but I'm trying to put more gameplay. If I can get more subscribers, we can actually, have a proper URL, because we don't have a proper URL on YouTube. But it's also going to keep me more accountable. I'm going to try to keep putting more footage on there and try to work hard on that. But thank you all so much who did take the time to, review and write us. We would love any game suggestions. You can email us at gamepassgrabbag@gmail.com, or at Twitter, GBGBpod, and Facebook, Game Pass Grab Bag. I've been your Hardcore Gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live, Firebird 01952. Pass off to you guys, because I know you guys always get bored with these outros.
No way.
I mean,
Keith's face always just look miserable.
Well, because your outro is like a CVS receipt. I bought a pack of Tic Tacs and it's 6 feet long.
Sorry.
I don't know. Anyways, I've been Keith. That's all. I don't know.
And I'm Liz the Noob, gamer tag ComeOnUmpteen, and I'm on Twitter at Liz the Noob. Noob is EW.
I do like that description of my outro is like a CVS receipt. You buy Tic Tacs and it's a 20-mile long receipt. I got that reference, Keith. That's good. I like that.
But also,
Oh,
I
I'm glad
haven't
you
bought
understood my
Tic
reference.
Tacs since I was like in middle school.
Yeah,
They make
did
those still.
that's a weird, like, we're reaching that age where I can ask that question. Did I just age myself? Like, 'cause
Yeah, who buys Tic Tacs anymore? The orange ones are delicious, but
man,
Are we
those
going to get into another random candy talk?
those are orange Tic Tacs are candy. They're not mints.
Oh, yeah. Those are actually chew. I love the orange Tic Tacs.
did you just say they're cute?
No, they're can't. Wait, did I say cute? I don't know. Did I?
I think
I
you
thought I said
did.
candy, but I think it came out cute. Oh, I think I meant to said chewy. I like them because
No, they're
chewy.
not chewy at all. They're very
orange
crunchy. No, they're still crunchy.
I think
They're
they're
powder.
crunchy, but they have like once like you're
No,
chewing
it's
them, they're a little.
It's,
They got like
it's
a chewy
it
nougaty
is-
inside. What are you talking about?
What? Did you just tell me that
Have I been
orange
eating
Tic
bad
Tac?
orange Tic Tacs? Have they
think you
expired?
have.
have nougat?
Yeah, because nobody buys them anymore.
I said nougaty, not like they actually are
There's
nougat in
no-
the center.
There's nothing nougat.
But they are extra chewy. It's like,
Oh my god.
I think it's because they stick on your teeth, is what you mean.
No, they
oh,
don't.
they don't stick to your teeth. They're not like, what were those,
All
jujubes?
three of us are remembering this
I
differently.
know, yeah, this is odd. Are we talking about the same thing here? The same product?
Are you talking about circus peanuts?
No. Ew, do those even
No,
exist
ew,
anymore?
I know someone who likes those.
Really?
Circus peanuts aren't bad. They're better than candy corn.
What? No, that's no.
I'd eat a bag full of
No.
circus peanuts before I'd eat a handful of.
I'd eat 2 bags of candy corn before I eat 1 peanut.
Well, if there's ever a serial killer in Manchester, we know it's Keith here. Who freaking likes peanuts over candy corn? Like, come on.
Because they're just better.
Sociopath.
For the one person who's still listening, let us know what you think. Circus peanuts or candy
Orange
corn.
Tic Tacs. And
Okay.
tell me, are orange Tic Tacs cute?
What's the texture?
Alright, we're ending this. Thank you all so much for joining. You probably regret it at this point. We really hope to see you again next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
They're probably looking at us like,